Oh, asking me what's on my mind in February is always easy. February is heart month. And so everything related to cardiovascular disease, cardiovascular medicine is what's on my mind this February and every February. If you see me around campus in the month of February, I'm often having my red dress lapel on my suit coat or on my white coat. The red dress is a campaign that began, 25 years ago, sponsored by the American Heart Association and the NHLBI at NIH. This really was a campaign and remains a campaign to raise awareness of the importance of women's heart health. Cardiovascular disease remains the globe's leading cause of death and disability for both men and women. It's the piece in women that's often under-recognized. So I will spend February thinking about all things related to cardiovascular health, cardiovascular disease, locally, around the globe, in men, in women. It's an important month to think about what can we do collectively to lower the risk. It's an important month to think about what research do we need to change outcomes for our patients with heart disease. And maybe most importantly, how do we create a world that's free of cardiovascular disease? This is really a very important question in terms of thinking about one's leadership. I've often made the comment when I talk about leadership and when I reflect upon my own leadership that you really should lead with values and you should really understand what your value system is. I've been quoted or I've said in the past that sometimes you have to make really hard decisions when you're asked to do something perhaps that goes against your value system. I think that leaders need to reflect, are they actually going against their value system or are they just disagreeing with what they've been asked to do? That's an important difference and take time to sort that through. You can disagree with something that you're asked to do and you should talk about it. You should have respectful, professional, civil dialogue and see if you can work through differences so that the organization can move forward. A bit trickier is when you really feel that you've been asked to do something that goes against your value system. In that case, I still think that dialogue, discussion, civil and professional, is really important. But there are times when you have to make a decision that something you've been asked to do something that really does violate your values, and as to whether or not perhaps this is the right thing for you to do, and maybe it's that the position that you're in is not the right position for you. Don't take that decision lightly. Don't take it quickly. Take it in a thoughtful, deliberate manner. One of the most challenging things for a leader is to communicate consistently across an organization, particularly if, like Weill Cornell, it's a large organization. There's no way, for example, that somebody like me can talk to every single person about every issue, despite that being my instinct that I really would like to do that. And so, what do I depend upon? I depend upon cascading of information. And what does that mean? It means I talk to my leadership team, maybe by extension, leaders beyond that. And then I really need to depend upon those leaders to get information down to the people in their individual groups that they're responsible for. This has to be coordinated. You need to make sure that if it's a difficult topic, a controversial topic maybe, that you provide leaders with talking points. You may even provide them with speaking aids, things like slides. You might be available to answer questions for your leaders who you're asking to cascade down that information. Cascading of communications is a critical part of a leadership strategy, particularly in a large organization. You want there to be consistency in the messaging, but yet you want that messaging also to be tailored for that individual group or that individual section. So really important. I think a lot about this at Weill Cornell. We really depend upon, on the faculty side, our clinical and basic science chairs to cascade down that information to their departments, centers, and institutes. More broadly, from a staff perspective, I know that our COO, Kathy Garzio, utilizes very similar techniques with her team. One of the fundamentals of science is that it does change over time. We do experiments, we learn something, we perhaps probe a little bit harder, probe differently, acquire new data, and things might change. Our perspective change. I wouldn't call that flip flopping. I would call that the scientific method. The scientific method really depends upon building upon what we've learned in the past. You have a hypothesis, you test it, you put forward a set of observations. Somebody else comes along, takes your set of observations, maybe asks a different question, asks it in a different way, repeats a set of experiments. Those experiments might show something that extends your earlier observation. Sometimes it might contradict your earlier observation. That's okay. That's not flip-flopping. That's science. And that's how we make progress. Oh, I know that everybody's been waiting to hear which sport I'm going to announce as my Winter Olympic sport of choice. You know, I'm a guy from Boston. Is it going to be hockey? I'm a guy from the inner city, so it's definitely not skiing. I never skied growing up. Here's something that I've learned to love over the last 15 plus years, and that's, you ready? Ice dancing. Let me tell you why. One of my very close friends in cardiology is a professor, cardiologist at the University of Michigan, Eric Bates. I've known Eric for about 35, 36 years since I was a cardiology fellow and working on projects in clinical research. Well, guess what? Eric has a super talented son, Evan Bates. Evan is paired with his now wife, Madison Chalk, as the U.S. leading pairs ice dancers. I have seen them perform multiple times, including in national championships at different arenas around the country. They are a fantastic couple. They are fantastic athletes, and I look forward to watching them compete in the Winter Olympics. For Evan, this is his 5th Winter Olympics. For Evan and Madison together, this is their 4th as a team. So go Bates, go Chalk.